Y'all, stop what you're doing, because the streets are on fire, the tea is boiling, and Kirk Frost just got caught in the biggest scandal since Maury said, "You are not the father." That's right, Karlie Red Dunn pulled the receipts. The DNA report is shaking in Kirk's hands, and Rasheeda, baby, she is not here for the lies this time. How do you go from family man to fraudulent father figure in under 60 seconds? Easy, you get sloppy, you get exposed, and you get dragged. Is this Love and Hip Hop or an episode of CSI Atlanta? Because this DNA test didn't just break a family, it might just break the internet. Did Kirk really forge lab results to hide the truth from Rasheeda? Did Karlie Red just detonate the Frost family with one flash drive and a flick of her lace front? And most importantly, why does this feel like the plot twist nobody saw coming, but everybody low-key expected? Grab your snacks, hide your man, and silence your notifications. Because we're about to dive deep into the betrayal, the drama, the cover-up, and y'all. This time, the cameras caught everything, so boom, just when everyone thought the drama in Atlanta couldn't possibly reach new heights, Karlie Red strutted onto the scene like a walking truth bomb, armed with a flash drive, a sealed envelope, and a vengeance that screamed, "I've had enough of the lies." And who's at the epicenter of this nuclear explosion? None other than Kirk Frost, the man who's practically built his brand on denial, distraction, and dodging accountability like it's a full-time job. And poor Rasheeda, the ever-loyal, ever-rational queen who stood by this man through cheating rumors, secret babies, and midlife crises wrapped in Gucci belts, is now facing the biggest betrayal of forged DNA report that questions not just Kirk's paternity but his entire credibility as a husband, a father, and a man. It started like a casual gathering, but the tension in that room was thick, enough to cut with a wig comb. Cameras rolling, producers whispering, and Karlie standing center stage like she's been waiting for this moment her whole reality TV life. She didn't come to play. She came to expose. And expose, she did, holding up that DNA envelope like it was the holy grail of mess. She looked Rasheeda dead in the eye and asked the question that changed everything. Are you ready to know the truth? And let's be real, Rasheeda thought she already knew the truth. She's been down this road before. She's heard the whispers, seen the receipts, deleted the DMIs, but this was something else. Because according to Karlie's mysterious lab report, the paternity of Kirk's alleged child didn't just raise eyebrows at obliterated trust. The results? Not matching. Not even close. Kirk's name wasn't on that DNA match like he swore. It was, unsuddenly, that whole story he fed Rasheeda about stepping up, being responsible, and doing the right thing was looking faker than his apology tours. The room went silent. Producers stopped breathing. Rasheeda's hands were trembling, and Kirk went full deer in headlights mode. Not a word, just awkward gulps and nervous blinking, like he was praying someone would pull the fire alarm and end the scene. But this wasn't just for TV. This was real. Karlie, ever the dramatist with a PhD in petty, wasn't done. She whipped out a flash drive and plugged it into the nearest laptop like she was revealing state secrets. And baby, what popped up on that screen had jaws on the floor. Text messages, emails, transaction receipts. Kirk's digital fingerprints were all over a conspiracy to manipulate paternity results. We're talking about email trails with subject lines like "make sure it's a match" and messages saying things like "she can't find out the real results." One particularly damning message read, "Doctor said it won't be a problem, we'll make it look official." Official, try fraudulent. Rasheeda was frozen. Karlie pressed play on a voice memo, and boom, Kirk's voice, clear as day, saying things like, "We'll fix the results before she ever sees them." Fix the results. This ain't no mixtape, Kirk. You don't remix DNA. That's not how science works. Rasheeda stood there like her world had just been yanked out from under her. And honestly, who could blame her? This is a woman who's been publicly humiliated more times than we can count. She's defended Kirk, forgiven Kirk, rebuilt with Kirk, and now she's discovering that while she was out here building a brand, he was out here building a lie. And it wasn't just Rasheeda's heart on the line. There's a whole family, a whole fan base, and a whole legacy tied to Kirk's image as a reformed man. And in that moment, every single promise he made unraveled. Karlie didn't even flinch. She stood tall, arms folded, eyes burning with vindication. "I told you I'd come with receipts," she said, as if she'd been waiting years for Rasheeda to finally see the truth. Kirk tried to speak. He really did, but nothing came out. Just stutters, half-formed excuses, and one feeble "I was trying to protect us." Protect us from what? Reality, accountability, truth. The room was shaking, not literally, but you could feel it. The energy had shifted. Rasheeda's eyes were locked on the laptop screen, her mouth slightly open in disbelief. Her pulse pounding, her hands trembling. Every memory, every moment, every whispered reassurance Kirk ever gave her was now under a microscope. The betrayal was so loud it was deafening. And yet, Kirk still hadn't said the one thing that might have mattered, the truth. Instead, he did what he always does, stood there, sweating under the pressure of his own lies, hoping the storm would pass. But not this time. This time, the storm had a name, and it was Karlie Red. She turned to the camera crew and said, "Y'all, better keep filming, 'cause this is just the beginning." Rasheeda finally spoke. Her voice cracked, but her words were sharp. "If you lied about your own child, what else are you lying about?" And just like that, it was official. The Frost family wasn't just in crisis, they were in freefall. And baby, the internet. Oh, the internet was eating it up. Live chats lit up like fireworks. Viewers were flooding the comments with gasps, theories, and digital popcorn emojis. One person wrote, "Kirk really forged DNA papers. This man's commitment to deception is unmatched." Another said, "Karlie is messy, but she came with facts." And let's not forget the fan who tweeted, "This ain't Love and Hip Hop, this is CSI, Atlanta." And you know what? They're not wrong. Because this isn't just a reality TV scandal. This is a full-blown, court-worthy deception. And the way it's unfolding, you'd think it was written by Shonda Rhimes. Meanwhile, as the room descended into chaos, producers were scrambling to figure out whether they had to call legal or keep filming. Spoiler alert, they kept filming. Kirk finally gathered the courage to speak, barely. His voice was low, broken. "I thought if I controlled the narrative, it wouldn't hurt her." "Sir, you didn't control the narrative. You set it on fire, and now you're standing in the ashes wondering why it's hot." Rasheeda just shook her head. No words, just pain. You could see it all over her face, the realization that the man she'd forgiven over and over again wasn't just flawed. He was calculated, strategic, and this time, he didn't just break her trust, he demolished it. Karlie walked out of the room like a woman who just dropped the mic on an empire. And maybe she did. Because this wasn't just a reveal. This was a reckoning, a dismantling of Kirk's carefully crafted redemption arc. And as Rasheeda stood in the rubble of her reality, blinking back tears and trying to breathe, one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same again. But just when you think the drama's peaked, trust and believe it's only just getting started. As the silence in the room stretched like a rubber band ready to snap, Rasheeda finally turned away from the screen, her face drained of all color. The DNA papers were still open on the table, Kirk's forged future exposed in black and white. Karlie was gone, but her impact lingered like smoke after an explosion. The air was thick with tension, disbelief, and something else, something colder. Betrayal. Kirk, still standing like a child who just got caught red-handed, mumbled something unintelligible, but Rasheeda wasn't hearing it. Not anymore. Her eyes were glassy, her jaw clenched. You could feel her unraveling second by second, like a queen watching her kingdom crumble. And then, from the hallway, Rasheeda's sister entered, phone in hand, whispering, "There's more." You'd think that would be the moment Kirk collapsed, but no. He stood there, still trying to figure out how to lie his way out of something that had already caught fire and spread across every social media platform known to man. The sister stepped forward, handed the phone to Rasheeda, and hit play. And there it was, Kirk's voice, recorded in private, admitting to his lab contact, "Just change the name. Make it look like it's mine. She won't know." Boom. Done. No more denials. No more word games. The truth was out, and this wasn't some misunderstanding or a clerical error. This was orchestrated, premeditated, scripted like a season finale, and executed like a crime. Rasheeda staggered back as if the words physically hit her. She sat down slowly, her hands pressed to her temples, whispering, "How could you do this? To me, to our child," and the room. The room went dead quiet again, as if everyone was collectively holding their breath, waiting to see if Kirk would finally admit the full truth or collapse under the weight of his own nonsense. And right on cue, Kirk muttered the now infamous line, "I thought I was protecting you. Thought I was protecting you." Oh, the audacity. Protecting her. Protecting her from what? The truth. That her husband forged documents about the most sacred bond a family could share. Rasheeda shook her head, laughed bitterly, and said, "You really thought faking fatherhood was love?" Kirk, now sweating like he just ran a marathon through hell, tried to sit down next to her, but she raised her hand without even looking. The message was clear. Don't. The energy shifted again when Karlie re-entered the room like she forgot her purse. But really, she just came back to twist the dagger. She stood behind Rasheeda, looked directly at Kirk, and said, "You didn't just lie to her, you lied to all of us." The cameras were still rolling. This wasn't just a scene anymore, this was evidence. Internet detectives were already pausing every frame, analyzing every blink and lip quiver for signs of guilt. Meanwhile, the production crew was getting ready to market this meltdown as the most explosive episode of the season. The live feed was going wild. Fans were posting screen recordings, reaction memes, and breakdown threads like it was the Super Bowl of scandal. One tweet read, "Kirk forged a paternity test and still thought he deserved peace." Another said, "If Rasheeda takes him back again, I'm mailing her a do better handbook." And then came the avalanche blog posts, YouTube recaps, Instagram gossip pages flooding with clips and commentary. Even verified celebs were weighing in, some tagging Rasheeda with words of support, others dragging Kirk for filth. And the fallout didn't stop there. An anonymous source, allegedly someone on the production team, leaked that Rasheeda had already contacted a lawyer. Yep, the same Rasheeda who said, "I don't believe in divorce," might have just changed her religion. Sources claim that lawyer was seen entering her beauty boutique just hours after filming Wrapped. Coincidence, please? Nothing's a coincidence when the cameras are rolling and your whole life's turning into a courtroom drama. Back at the house, Kirk was still fumbling through excuses. "It was just one time. I didn't think it would matter. I panicked." Sir, you didn't just panic. You planned a paternity fraud operation like it was a heist movie. You forged documents. You altered results. You roped in a medical professional or someone pretending to be one. That's not panic. That's project management. And Rasheeda wasn't buying it. Not anymore. She looked up, tears in her eyes, voice trembling but sharp as glass. "You let me build a family on a lie. You watched me raise that child with love, and you knew the weight of that moment. Devastating." Even Karlie, for all her mess, went quiet. And Kirk, he finally dropped to his knees, head in his hands, crying like a man who'd just realized the jig was not only up, it was televised. He sobbed, "I didn't want to lose you." But Rasheeda's silence said more than any words could. She didn't move, she didn't speak. She just stared at the man she thought she knew, wondering how long he'd been hiding behind a mask. Meanwhile, another twist was brewing. Just when the emotional meter was maxed out, Rasheeda's cousin burst through the door, holding an envelope from a private investigator. Yep, because apparently, this episode was written by the ghost of Shakespeare himself. The cousin handed over the envelope and said, "You need to see this." Rasheeda opened it with shaking hands, her eyes scanning receipts, signed lab contracts, payment records, every single step Kirk took to orchestrate this fraud. And if that wasn't enough, there were screenshots of an email thread where Kirk literally said, "Results to be manipulated. Confirm before delivery." It was cold, calculated, corporate. Rasheeda couldn't speak. She just handed the papers to Karlie and walked out of the room. And in that silence, Kirk collapsed again, this time fully. Lying on the floor, face in his hands, sobbing into the hardwood like a man undone. The final image, as the cameras zoomed out. Kirk, alone on the floor. The fraudulent DNA report beside him, Rasheeda's footsteps echoing down the hallway. Karlie standing in the doorway with one last icy stare. The audience, stunned, shook, and screaming at their screens. But just when it felt like the final twist had dropped, the preview for the next episode revealed something else: a dinner scene with Rasheeda's parents, where even more secrets are teased, and one question hangs in the air. Did Kirk forge only one report? Or were there others? Because when a man lies that easily, can we ever really know where the truth ends and the performance begins? And just like that, the curtain dropped on another act of this scandalous circus, leaving the audience desperate for what comes next. The episode resumed exactly where we left off, Kirk still on the floor, his face a puddle of shame and snot, while the DNA envelope lay wide open like a crime scene exhibit. Meanwhile, Rasheeda was nowhere in sight. But her footsteps echoed louder than any words ever could. The house was still unforgiving. And then came the dinner scene, a sit-down that was never supposed to happen. Rasheeda's parents entered with that look. You know the one? The "we've been knowing something wasn't right" look. Her father pulled out a chair, barely sat down before firing off the first shot. "So Kirk, you got anything else you want to confess before we start eating?" Kirk, trying to sit upright with whatever spine he had left, wiped his face and whispered, "I didn't mean to lie, sir." "Oh, sweet summer child. Didn't mean to lie." Rasheeda's mother snapped, leaning forward like she was about to reach across the table and snatch the truth out of him with her bare hands. "You didn't trip and fall into a forgery, Kirk. You forged. Deliberately. Strategically. With receipts." And for once, Kirk had nothing to say. Just silence and sweat. Rasheeda, sitting at the head of the table like a queen with a broken crown, simply pushed her plate aside and said, "Let's stop pretending this is about one piece of paper. This is about every lie that came before it and every one that followed." She turned toward her husband, or whatever he was, and added, "You lied when you didn't have to. That's what hurts the most." The silence that followed was the kind that screamed, and just when we thought it couldn't go any deeper, Rasheeda's aunt chimed in with a casual bombshell. "You know," she began, holding a wine glass like she was about to deliver a toast. "Back in the day, I heard rumors that Kirk had a whole side family in Houston." Boom, cue the record scratch, the gasps, the collective scream from the audience. The entire table froze like statues. Kirk's eyes darted like a cornered rat. Rasheeda blinked, slow and dangerous. "A side family," she said, her voice lower now, colder. Kirk shook his head. "That was before us," he croaked. But the damage was done. Even the camera operator was shaking. Twitter exploded. Screenshots were flying. Gossip pages hit DEFCON 1. Side family in H-Town. One post read, "Kirk playing Sims while Rasheeda building a legacy." And in that moment, every Rasheeda supporter on earth collectively yelled, "Leave him." But the train wreck wasn't finished. Not even close. Because right then, Karlie re-entered the frame. Yep. She came back for dessert and, the final blow, she slid a tablet across the table and hit play. On screen, security cam footage from a lab. A grainy black and white video of Kirk handing over an envelope. The timestamp matched the day the DNA report was supposedly delivered. "That's you, right?" Karlie said, sipping her water like it was tea. Kirk stared at the screen, and his soul visibly left his body. "That's not what it looks like," he mumbled. "It never is," Rasheeda replied, her voice calm to calm. The kind of calm that means someone is either about to leave or burn it all down. Kirk tried to explain, scrambling for a lie that didn't sound like pure comedy. But Rasheeda stood up. "You know what?" she said. "I'm done asking why. I'm done crying. I'm done saving a man who wouldn't even give me the truth about our child." The room fell silent. Karlie watched. The parents watched. Kirk, too stunned to cry anymore, just stared as Rasheeda walked away from the table, her heels clicking like closing credits. But before she reached the door, she paused. She looked over her shoulder and said, "You lied to me once. I forgave you. You lied again. I protected you. But this, you lied about blood. You lied about family. I won't protect you from this." Exit Rasheeda. Fade to black. Not yet. Because the post-dinner drama was just as hot. Kirk sat alone, now in the guest room, clutching that same envelope like it owed him rent. The camera zoomed in. His face was swollen from crying. His phone buzzed. Over and over. Messages, missed calls, memes. Oh yes, the internet was feasting. A particularly savage post showed a photoshopped Maury Povich holding up the test results with the caption, "Kirk, you are not the father, but you are the fraud." Another one showed Rasheeda walking away in slow-mo with Beyoncé's Irreplaceable playing in the background. The public had made up its mind and it wasn't in Kirk's favor. Meanwhile, Rasheeda was seen later, that evening with Karlie and her sister, sipping wine on the patio like it was the reunion episode already. They laughed, they cried, they planned. But one thing was clear, this was no longer just about heartbreak. It was about reclaiming power. "I built our brand," Rasheeda said, "and I'll rebuild without him if I have to." Karlie nodded, satisfied like a woman who just dropped a bomb and walked away unscathed. "And I got the footage," she smirked. "All of it. If VH1 don't use it, I will." Rasheeda's sister leaned in. "What if he tries to flip this? Tries to gaslight the public?" Rasheeda gave a half smile, icy and regal. "Then I'll release the full footage, raw, unedited, with timestamps." And just like that, the final nail hit the coffin. Kirk's career wasn't just on the line, it was already out the door. His reputation, dragged, his marriage, crumbling, his secrets, now public domain. Back at Kirk's lonely guest room bunker, he stared at himself in the mirror. Puffy eyes, broken man. No cameras left rolling in his favor. Just a reflection and a question. How did it come to this? Simple. Lies have expiration dates and is just spoiled on national television. The teaser for next week promised even more chaos. Rasheeda, meeting with her legal team, Kirk's secret child possibly stepping forward. A reunion taping where Karlie threatens to expose even more messages. And a wild card, the ex-girlfriend from Houston may show up. Because of course, she will, because when it rains in reality TV, it pours. So now, we're all left with one final question as this drama unfolds like a Shakespearean comedy in a love and hip-hop universe. Can Kirk even survive the next episode? And more importantly, should he? The viewers are divided. Some are rooting for his redemption. Others are crafting free Rasheeda merch. But one thing's for sure, this DNA deception just rewrote every rule of the game. And as the screen fades to black and the somber music creeps in, the final image is Kirk, staring out the window, a man undone by his own signature. One lie, one paper, one exposed secret, and an empire of trust now turned to dust. So now that the bomb has dropped, the DNA is decoded, and Kirk Frost's credibility is hanging by a thread. What happens next? Will Rasheeda pack her bags and finally say goodbye for good? Or will she pull a plot twist and flip this heartbreak into a business move? And let's not forget about Karlie. Was this her revenge story all along? Or is she just the truth hero we never saw coming? Tell us in the comments, was Kirk ever truly sorry? Or just sorry he got caught? Would you forgive a lie that deep? Or would you torch the whole house and start over like a true reality TV phoenix? Because let's be honest, family scandals might be common on reality TV, but this was betrayal served with receipts, flash drives, video footage, and a whole meal of mess. Hit that like button if you think Rasheeda deserves better. Smash subscribe if you're riding shotgun for the next episode of this emotional roller coaster. And ring that bell, because honey, you do not want to miss what's coming next. More tea, more drama, and maybe, just maybe, more exposed DNA lies. This isn't just about one man's mistake. It's about love, loyalty, and the savage art of telling the truth on camera. So whether you're Team Rasheeda, Team Karlie, or just here for the chaos, buckle up. The Frost family fallout has only just begun. And this saga is far from over. Now go on, drop your theories in the comments, and don't hold back. Should Kirk get another chance? Or should Rasheeda serve him those divorce papers with a side of petty? You decide, because in this world, secrets don't stay buried, they go viral.